Good morning! First, I am going to explain the main characteristic of my school in relation to the diagnosis we have done. I am the principal of a public primary school that is in a suburban area near the city of Murcia, with a culturally diverse population with a medium socioeconomic diversity. Its name is CEIP Aurora and it's located in Guadalupe. Our school has around 600 students aged between 6 and 12, and we have 45 teachers and staff. This staff includes primary school teachers, specialist teachers such as language teachers or psychologists, and supporters. We also have some students with special needs, such as difficulties with language, comprehension or reading, learning difficulties, or problems with social interaction, emotional issues, or family circumstances. We have noticed with this diagnostic some issues to resolve regarding the teaching staff because it is one of the most important points. The work of a teacher is to teach, to resolve problems, communicate with families, do meetings, prepare materials out of their work schedule, and do lot of administrative tasks. So the result of all of this is that many teachers feel overload and stress. This makes them not entirely comfortable and happy with their work and less motivated. Another important issue is the student behavior. In the last years, emotional, psychological, and attention problems have increased. Also, the inclusive education is one of the biggest challenges that we have, and we are trying to improve the help. Our teachers support diversity, but for some of them, it's difficult because they don't have the needed information, strategies for collaborative teaching, or the necessary adaptations in classroom, so this creates insecurity and inconsistency in practice. In summary, according to the diagnosis, our school is committed with the inclusion and the diversity, but faces some challenges related with the well-being, workload, behavior management, and inclusive capacity, as we can see in the image. For this second exercise, I used Microsoft Copilot to generate a school development plan focused on teacher well-being and inclusive education with the indicated prompt. So I introduced the prompt of the activity and then Copilot generates some different measures to improve the situation. As we can see, these are the 10 measures provided by Copilot. These measures face in a good way the problems related with teacher well-being, workload, and inclusive education. However, we should analyze if they are good in terms of impact practicality and long-term sustainability. Most of these measures can improve communication, support inclusion, and teacher motivation. However, their success depends on factors such as time, resources, coordination, training, and long-term commitment. Although the measures have many benefits, a school may face difficulties like lack of staff, financing problems, extra pressure on teachers, or slow implementation processes. Therefore, for these actions to be truly effective and sustainable, a school needs good organization, constant support, and active participation from the whole educational community. Okay, so now I'm going to choose the 5 most important measures and I'm going to critically analyze it in relation to my specific school context. This measure is appropriate for our school context because communicating with the family school improves the behavior of the students. Can improve also the inclusion because the family school helps to understand the needs of the students and their context. The LOE supports this measure because it promotes inclusion and collaboration between school and families. Also, the Decree 157/2022. The main actors involved are teachers, families, students, and the managed team. This measure mainly impacts the relationship between school and families, making it more collaborative and based on shared responsibility. It also improves the teacher-student relationship. This is a good measure because the teacher well-being percent is low, so they have so much stress. For that, this measure can reduce unnecessary pressure, improve the motivation, and create a positive climate. LOE supports school leadership, but the limited autonomy or administrative demands can restrict the leader's capacity. The main actors are management team, teachers, support staff, students, and family. This measure changes the relationship between leadership and teachers into one more supportive and collaborative. This is an appropriate measure because teachers have high workload and stress, and there is also a lack of skills for inclusive education. LOMLOE promotes a personal and personalized attention, but it has some limitations depending on the autonomous community. The main actors are teachers, support staff, students, families, and the managed team. This strengthens the relation and collaboration between teachers and support staff. This measure is positive because only a 15% of teachers in our school report a good level of well-being, so they need to rest and have their own space. LOMLOE promotes well-being, positive school climate, and healthy working environments. Occupational risk prevention policies also support staff well-being. The main actors are teachers, support staff, the managed team, and indirectly students. It improves relationship between teachers and staff. This is an appropriate measure because it could improve the behavior of the students. LOMLOE supports participation, inclusion, democratic values, and student well-being. The main actors are students, teachers, the managed team, families, and support staff. This measure changes the relationship between student and staff, making it more participatory and collaborative.
Which dimensions of educational diversity are not adequately addressed?
Physical and sensory diversity and gender identity diverse are not addressed or mentioned, which I think they should be, and cultural and linguistic diversity is only mentioned clearly in communication with families with the multilingual tools. Socioeconomic diversity is not directly mentioned, and some support may come indirectly through inclusion systems and support staff, but no specific measures address inequality of resources or disadvantage.
Which key relationships or organizational dynamics are missing or oversimplified?
The AEI proposals simplify the school reality because it is focusing on structural logistic and forgetting human and relational dynamics, ignoring the emotional labor and psychological exhaustion inherent in inclusive education. It forgets that teachers are emotionally exhausted, not just busy. It also misses important types of diversities, such as disabilities, gender identity, and poverty. Looks the school as a machine, not a community. The NGO Compasiva has an important role supporting the right to education. This is reflected in Brazil, where they help the refugees to have Portuguese classes and help them with their title rehabilitation, which is so important to an inclusive education and to the fact that all people have the right of a good education and formation. One important barrier in these cases of refugees is the language barrier, because many of them arrive in this case in Brazil, but in other cases are other countries without knowing any Portuguese or local language, so they cannot receive or attend the normal classes. Also, interacting with the other people is more difficult for them, so their adaptation is very complicated. Also, the formal education systems take a long time to recognize the degrees or qualifications they had in their previous countries. So these are slow processes with a lot of paperwork, which can be a problem because it delays these people's entry into education, which I think is so unfair. This case illustrates the most difficult challenges in including diversity in education. This is because education systems are designed for a stable population, and these refugees, when they come to a new country, often face linguistic, cultural, and academic difficulties, as their education has frequently been interrupted. Organizations like Compasiva not only help people in these situations, also shows that schools and the public system do not always take full responsibility for this inclusion, and the NGO provides the necessary visibility for a change to begin. As a school principal, organizational decisions have a big impact on students' learning, inclusion, and school climate. Because of that, I will prioritize the next 3 key organizational decisions. The complexity of this decision is the tension between the equity and effectiveness. On the one hand, this type of grouping promotes inclusion and avoids labeling students. On the other hand, it requires teachers to adapt instructions to diverse needs of each student. The main actors are teachers, students, families, and the school leadership team. Teachers must differentiate needs, students interact each other, living out their level, and families may have different expectations about academic grouping. A possible consequence could be that high-achieving students may feel less challenged. This could reduce their motivation and interest. This model complexity is the student autonomy and organizational structure. The flexible schedule promotes personalized learning. It allows students to choose activities such as tutoring, collaborative work, or projects. But it requires strong planning and clear structures to avoid disorganization. The main actors are students, teachers, and the leadership team. Students manage their learning more than in a traditional schedule. Teachers are seen as mentors or advisors, and the leadership team have to coordinate the hours and staff. A consequence could be that some students didn't know how to manage their time effectively, which can cause lower motivation, interest, and disengagement. This decision complexity is between participation and control. While co-creating rules increases motivation and sense of inclusion, it reduces direct authority from teachers. There is also a problem between maintaining clear standards and allowing students' voice. The main actors are students, teachers, families, and the leadership team. Students participate in rule creation, teachers guide the process, and families contribute values. The leadership team have to implement these rules and be sure that they are coherent. A possible consequence is that some rules may become too unclear or too easy if students are not guided properly. So, to implement these decisions, the school could need an inclusive and democratic leadership style. Since the decision involved mixed ability grouping, flexible schedules, and co-create coexistent rules, we need participation, collaboration, and communication between teachers, students, and families. This type is important because for carry out these decisions, collaboration is needed. Teachers need support, students need guidance for being active in their learning, and families need to be involved and informed. For that, my work as principal should be as a coordinator and guide, more than an authoritarian figure, creating a school environment based on trust, inclusion, and responsibility. I think I deserve a 9 out of 10. I believe I deserve this grade because I have put in a video a lot of effort. I dedicated a significant amount of time and I tried to make the video aesthetic, easy to watch and reflective of what we have learned in this course. Also, I have demonstrated an understanding of school organization, leadership, inclusion and attention to diversity. I also believe I adhered well to the assessment criteria and respect them. In addition, I use clear example. However, I know that some parts could be more detailed or better expressed linguistically, so I think there is still room for improvement. But I'm happy with the result of the video. I learned that attention to diversity means understanding that every student is different and need equal opportunities to learn and participate. Inclusion means adapting the school to students' needs. Yes, before this course, I did not imagine how important leadership and participation are in a school organization. Now, I understand that collaboration between teachers, students, and families is essential for a positive school environment. Also, how difficult is creating a schedule that suits everyone's needs. The most crucial idea I learned about school organization this course I think is complexity, because before this I didn't realize that sometimes it's so difficult to equilibrate everything to go in a good way. Many times tensions or dilemmas arise and you must know how to resolve them. Also, that every organizational decision has consequences on students, teachers and families. Yes, now I'm more aware that diversity is present in every classroom and that inclusion is necessary for students' well-being, participation and learning. I also understand better the difficulties teachers face when responding to diverse needs. First, I learned how to use CapCut and to edit a video. Also, I learned new perspective of school organization and diversity. It has helped me to reflect more deeply on what I have learned this course and to connect the theory with practice.